The year was 1867, and the Arizona frontier stretched wide and merciless before a lone rider. Elias Boone, 32, slumped in the saddle like a man carrying the weight of more than hunger or heat. Dust clung to his coat, sweat stung his eyes, and his horse breathed in harsh, ragged bursts. The sky hung pale, cloudless, endless, the kind of sky that swallowed men whole. Every hoofbeat stirred silence and emptiness, and yet Elias felt watched. He didn't come west for gold. He came because war stole his past and misery chased him. He carried no family, no home, no purpose but survival. His hands were scarred from conflict, his voice low from years of words that never healed anything. The desert wind cut through him like memory, and he remembered fire, screams, cannons, and the day everything he loved burned. But even sorrow grew quiet on the trail. Out here, silence ruled, broken only by the faint crunch of gravel and the rasp of a thirsty horse. By afternoon, Elias dismounted beside a dry arroyo, boots sinking into warm sand. His canteen held 2 swallows, barely a promise. He shaded his eyes with a trembling hand and scanned the horizon. Nothing moved, not a bird, not a wisp of cloud, only stillness and a whisper of wind shifting through sage. He crouched near a shallow wash, praying for water, scraping sand with cracked fingers. Nothing. A distant sound, a coyote, or the creak of wood. Elias stiffened, hand sliding to his revolver. He waited, breath held, pulse a hard drum in his throat. The sound faded. He exhaled slowly and forced himself to gather strength. Forward was the only direction left. He mounted again, spine aching, tongue thick with thirst. He rode toward distant dark rock formations where shadow hinted at shade. Hours blurred into heat and grit. The sun leaned west, stretching long fingers of gold across stone. His horse stumbled, almost falling. Elias steadied the reins, whispered rough encouragement, and pushed onward. Near sundown, he smelled it, coolness, damp earth, the breath of running water. His heart kicked hard. He urged the tired gelding forward, and through twisted cottonwoods he found it, a thin silver stream winding through stone. He swung down from the saddle, fell to his knees, and drank. Cold water filled him like mercy. But mercy didn't come alone. As Elias cupped handful after handful to his mouth, something gleamed in the stream bed, a flicker of yellow beneath clear ripples. He froze. Eyes sharpened. Breath slowed. He reached down. Gold. Not dust. Solid nuggets, smooth and heavy with promise. His chest tightened. Fingers trembled. The war took everything from him. And here lay rebirth. A future. A ranch. Land. Maybe a family someday. Riches beyond hunger and wandering. He gathered 2 pieces, then 3, piling them on a flat stone. More waited beneath the water, glittering like stars in daylight. Elias could almost see his new life forming. Barn timber rising, wheat fields waving, laughter where silence lived. His throat burned, but not from thirst. Hope was a dangerous drink. He waded deeper, boots sinking in cold mud, water lapping at his knees. The stream whispered over stone. The world hushed around him, as if time itself held breath. Then he felt it, eyes on his back. He turned slowly. Across the stream bank stood 3 Apache men, silent as dusk, bows drawn, arrows poised, their faces calm, unreadable, painted with earth tones of war and pride. Behind them, taller than the rest, stepped a man with hawk feather braids and steady gaze. Taza, Apache leader. Elias recognized the bearing, the certainty, the authority. No words yet, only the rustle of leaves, only danger. Taza, about 40, watched with the patience of stone. His warriors, young, dangerous, perhaps 20 summers each, flanked him like shadows ready to strike. Elias stood in cold water, hands still wet with gold. The wind slowed. The creek whispered. No movement could save him. Elias let the gold fall from his palm. The nuggets struck water with soft plunks, sinking again to the bed where they belonged. His pulse hammered, but fear did not rule him. Something heavier did. Honor, or the last scraps of what he once was. He raised empty hands, palms open, facing the warriors. No sudden moves. No plea. "This land ain't mine," he said, voice raw. "Neither's the gold." Taza's eyes narrowed, measuring him. One warrior shifted his bowstring, arrowhead glinting like decision. Elias held steady, chest rising slow, sweat cooling on his neck. He could run but would die. He could draw but would kill or be killed and leave nothing but fresh hate. He did not want more ghosts. He stepped backward out of the stream, never breaking eye contact. Water streamed from his boots. He moved with slow care, like approaching a skittish horse or a memory that cut too deep. On the shore, he bent, picked up his hat, and set it gently on his head. Taza finally spoke, voice low and even. "You trespass." "I do," Elias answered. "You found what is not yours." "I did." "And you leave it untouched." Elias swallowed, nodded once. "Yes." Silence again, heavy, tense, holding judgment like a drawn bow. Taza lifted his chin. The archers lowered their weapons. Not relaxed, just redirected, eyes still cold and evaluating. "You may go," Taza said, "but you never return. Not for gold, not for water." Elias felt his lungs fill for the first time in minutes. "I understand." One warrior, the youngest, maybe 18, stepped closer. He studied Elias with curiosity, not rage. Perhaps he understood what choice mattered, leaving well for peace. His gaze softened slightly, then it hardened again. Taza gestured sharply. The young man stepped back. The warriors melted into brush and rock like spirits. Elias stood alone with his horse, watching where they vanished. The gold still shone beneath running water, brighter now for being denied. Every inch of him screamed to take even a handful, just one, enough to start over. But Taza's warning hung heavier than temptation. He mounted, heart thick, mind wrestling with regret and relief. He turned from the stream, from the gold, from possibility. He rode into twilight where shadows stretched like long voices of doubt. The desert night arrived quickly, cool and blue. Crickets began to slow him. Elias guided his horse across uneven terrain, each hoofbeat muffled by sage and sand. Behind him, unseen eyes followed. He felt them like heat on skin. He listened for pursuit, heard nothing, saw nothing. But instinct, old and sharpened by war, whispered danger. A crack, not a branch, not a stone. Something sharper, an arrow slicing air. Elias dropped flat against the saddle. The first arrow hissed over his shoulder, close enough to hear it spin. His horse reared, panicked. Elias cursed under breath, gripped reins one-handed, and drove heels into its flank. They bolted. Hooves pounded the desert floor, scattering dust and loose shale. Breath tore from Elias' chest. The night blurred, mesquite, stone, low shrubs flashing by in streaks of darkness. Arrows followed like angry insects, buzzing death. One thunked into a stump beside him. Another skimmed his hat brim, spinning it off into the night. He didn't look back, didn't dare. The world narrowed to one truth: move. The gelding gasped, stumbled, recovered. Elias leaned forward, body molded the horse, whispering rough encouragement. "Keep running, boy. Just keep running." A ridge loomed ahead, jagged against moonlight. He steered hard toward it, hoping terrain might save him. Hooves clattered over rock. Arrows stopped, out of range, maybe, or a warning given. Silence returned, though his heart still thundered like distant war drums. He slowed only when the ridge sheltered him below a line of boulders. The horse trembled beneath him, lathered with sweat. Elias dismounted, legs nearly buckling. He pressed his back to cool stone and listened. Nothing. Only wind sighing across open land. He slid down to sit on gritty ground, chest heaving. His hat was gone. His pride fell half-torn. But he lived. That counted for something. Moonlight painted the desert silver white, softening every harsh edge. Elias tilted his head up, staring at stars cold as distant eyes. 12 years ago, he lost everything. Tonight, he turned away from fortune rather than steal what wasn't his. Maybe that meant something. Maybe the universe held memory, like scars, like water in deep stone. He stayed long enough to breathe steady again. Then he pushed up, remounted, and continued toward the dark horizon. Hunger gnawed, thirst threatened, but something inside felt steadier than morning. He rode through night and into pale dawn, never stopping, never turning back toward that stream of scattered gold. In the morning light, he saw horse tracks behind him. Not Apache pursuit, but memory himself created, stamped into earth like proof that mercy sometimes leaves nothing but footprints. Ahead waited uncertainty, emptiness, the long years to come. But he rode on, toward whatever fate remembered his name. 12 years passed like wind scraping bone, slow while living it, gone in a blink when looking back. Elias Boone had grown leaner, harder, lines creasing sun-worn skin like years carved into sandstone. His once dark hair had begun to gray along the temples, not from age alone, but from nights without fire or hope. The desert had been both enemy and teacher, stripping him piece by piece until nothing remained but grit, stubbornness, and a quiet code he refused to abandon. Take only what you earn. Even when hunger clawed ribs and loneliness chewed the soul raw, he never went back to that stream, never touched the gold, never forgot the way it shone. He drifted from ranch to ranch, taking whatever work a man with little more than a good horse and a scar-tight stare could get. He broke wild mustangs, hauled freight through dust storms, rode night guard on cattle drives where wolves howled close enough to smell blood. He slept under open sky more than under roofs. Sometimes, after whiskey burned his throat and memory softened, Elias wondered if he'd been a fool that day by the creek. Gold might have bought a future. Instead, he carried only the memory of refusing it, like some thorn of pride lodged deep where fingers couldn't reach. Towns changed, faces blurred, violence stayed the same. One night in a saloon in Santa Fe, he found himself standing between a drunk with a pistol and a young woman no older than 20. She trembled behind him, pale hands clutching her skirt. The drunk spat words slurred with anger, blaming her for some imagined slight. Elias didn't think. He stepped forward, voice low. "That ain't how a man behaves." The drunk drew. Elias moved faster. The gunshot was thunder. Splinters burst from the table. Elias' revolver barked once, twice. The drunk fell hard, blood blooming dark against floorboards. Silence swallowed the saloon. Men stared, some in awe, some in fear. The woman breathed like someone saved from drowning. Elias holstered slow, steady, but gratitude turned quick to trouble. The dead man's friends wanted revenge, whispering in alleys, following shadows. The saloon keeper, anxious to avoid trouble, told Elias to ride out before dawn. No pay, no thanks, just leave. He did. Snow crept into mountains as winter came, and Elias tried a homestead near a river valley in Colorado territory. He chopped timber with numb hands, built a shack that smelled of pine sap and hope, planted a small field before spring spoiled. He trapped rabbits, traded skins for flour and salt. For a moment, a short, fragile season, he believed he might outrun the past. Then the river turned on him. A storm came like judgment, deafening rain beating roof and ground in furious sheets. The river swelled overnight into a monster. Water tore down the valley, ripping fence posts, drowning crops, slamming logs into the fragile wall of his cabin. Elias fought with shovel and rope until hands bled, trying to save what little he built. But nature didn't bargain. At dawn, his land lay ruined, mud swallowing seedlings, cabins sagging like a broken spine. He stood barefoot in cold water up to his shins, rain dripping from hair and beard, watching his future wash away. A man can take many blows, but that one cracked him quiet inside. Summer brought wolves. He lost his only 2 goats in one violent night, their dying cries echoing like ghosts. He sat on the porch after burying the remains and felt the cabin walls shrink around him. 12 years, and nothing grew but regret. Sometimes he would wake gasping from dreams of gold beneath clear water, shimmering like forgiveness. But he never went back. Was it pride, stubbornness, or belief that stealing wealth not rightfully earned would rot his soul faster than hunger? He didn't know any more. He only knew he couldn't cross that line. Winter returned colder than before. One night, wind shrieked across the roof like spirits, and snow whirled white against the stars. Elias huddled near a dying fire, blanket tied around shoulders, stomach hollow. His rifle lay beside him, heavy and useless against cold and memory. He whispered into the silence, voice cracking like dry wood. Maybe I should have taken it. The words hung like sin. Something rustled outside. Not wind, hooves. Soft at first, then clearer. Elias sat up, pulse sharp. Visitors in winter meant danger. Or salvation. He reached for the rifle, eased the window, and peered through frost. Torches. 5 riders moved through snow-silvered dark, forming a half-circle around his cabin. Not soldiers. Not bandits. Their silhouettes carried the proud straightness of those born open land and silence. Apache. He stepped outside into the biting wind. Snow stung his face, breath fogging. The riders dismounted as one, moving with the grace of predators and the solemnity of ceremony. At their head stood a man not Taza, but cut from the same lineage, broad-shouldered, steady-eyed, braided hair laced with eagle feathers. He looked around, 28, youth sharpened by duty. I am Chaitin, he said, voice clear as winter air. Son of Taza. Elias' heart kicked once, old memory alive and walking. You remember a creek, Chaitin continued, a place of gold. Elias felt years crash over him like thawing river ice. He nodded. You left what was not yours, Chaitin said. My father remembered. Elias gripped the rifle like something to lean on, not use. His voice roughened. I didn't deserve it. Chaitin studied him long, face unreadable. Snow drifted slow around them, each flake a silent witness. Come, the Apache said, you are owed. And just like that, years of hunger and wandering shifted. A door that had stayed shut 12 winters creaked open. Elias didn't answer right away. He looked at his ruined land, the cabin broken by flood and wolves. All he had built crumbled. All he hoped for washed away. Pride had kept him alive, but pride didn't warm bones or fill stomach. He exhaled fog breath into bitter night. All right, he said quietly. I'll ride. The Apache did not ride fast, only steady, like time itself no longer hurried. Elias followed through snow-covered hills and narrow canyons, where wind whispered through stone like sacred breath. They traveled for 2 days and nights, sharing jerky by firelight, speaking little. Chaitin rode beside him often, eyes sharp, posture proud. He moved like a man who carried legacy on his back. You've changed, Chaitin said once. 12 years will do that. Chaitin studied him, as if measuring weight of years. You walk with ghosts. Elias didn't ask how he knew. Some truths were visible as scars. They reached an Apache winter village tucked into a sheltered valley where cottonwoods bent like wise elders. Snow blanketed earth, but fires flickered warm beneath hide shelters. Women and elders watched as Elias rode in, not fearfully, but with deep, ancient caution. Some children peeked behind blankets. None ran. Chaitin led him to a lodge where a healer woman named Nay, around 60 with silver hair braided tight, examined him. Her fingers traced old scars, eyes narrowing at injuries earned across years. You are worn thin, she said, voice soft yet certain, but not broken. She fed him stew rich with rabbit and herbs. He ate slow, savoring warmth like a man rediscovering life. Days passed, and strength crawled back into him like smoke rising from embers. One morning, Chaitin approached with 2 horses saddled. His eyes told more than words. Ride with us, he said. A hunt. Elias hesitated. His body mended, but doubt still lived deep. Yet something in him longed to prove he still belonged to the land, not just memory of it. I'll ride. The hunt stretched across open plain, hooves drumming earth. Buffalo emerged like thunder, massive brown shapes shaking frost from backs, tails lashing, breasts steaming. Warriors fanned out, bows drawn, spears glinting. Elias rode among them, heart pounding not with fear, but with fierce remembrance of purpose. Snow crunched, horses snorted. The world shrank to movement and instinct. One young warrior, Toka, age 19, sharp-jawed, full of fire, almost fell beneath a charging bull when his horse slipped on ice. Without thinking, Elias spurred forward, seized Toka's arm, and yanked him clear as the bull thundered past like a rolling boulder. The ground shook. Toka gasped, grateful and shaken. The Apache saw it. Respect shifted like wind. Elias no longer felt like outsider. He felt like someone accepted through action, not words. When they returned, Chayton placed a hand on Elias' shoulder. Not heavy, just real. You ride like one who remembers who he is, he said. Elias met his gaze. I'm trying. The fourth day, Chayton said only, come with me. They rode at dawn, frost glittering. He led Elias through a narrow canyon. Elias' heart recognized before mind caught up. The stream. Water still ran clear, singing softly over stone. Gold still glimmered beneath surface like sun trapped underwater. It was untouched, waiting, as if 12 years had been a single held breath. Chayton dismounted, stepped to the water's edge. His reflection rippled beside Elias. Wind stirred cottonwood branches, whispering memory across time. My father said, Chayton murmured, a man who can walk away from wealth walks towards something greater. Elias stared at the gold. Emotion welled sharp and painful. Gratitude tangled with disbelief. You kept it safe, he whispered. Chayton nodded once. Now it is yours, earned not by claim, but by restraint. Elias knelt, hands trembling not with greed, but with humility. He lifted one nugget, heavy as fate, cold like justice. It gleamed in his palm, familiar and strange. Before he could speak, a sound cracked through air, gunfire in distance, echo sharp against canyon walls. Elias and Chayton exchanged looks, danger swift and sure. From ridge came shouts, bandits, lean and hungry, drawn by rumor or chance. 5 riders, guns raised, eyes feral. Elias rose, jaw set. We stand together. Chayton nodded, hand already on bow. Arrows flew first, sharp streaks cutting morning quiet. Bullets answered, spitting dirt. Horses screamed. Elias dumped gold back into water. No weight mattered now, but survival. He raised his rifle, cold metal biting palm, and fired. A bandit spun, fell. Another charged forward, firing wild. Elias rolled behind boulder, breath ragged. Dust exploded. Stone splintered. The world shrank into pulse and gunfire. Elias shot again, sharp, clean, and another outlaw dropped. Chayton loosed arrows swift as heartbeat, striking targets with ancestral precision. But a stray shot grazed Elias' rib, tearing coat and skin. Hot pain seared, but he stayed upright, fury fueling him. One last bandit charged with a shout, shotgun raised. Elias stepped from cover, braced rifle, and fired point-blank. The man fell silent into dust. Then quiet returned, slow, stunned, alive. Chayton looked at Elias with something deeper than respect. You are no longer a man alone, he said. You stand with us. Elias breathed hard, bleeding but steady. Across the stream, gold still shimmered, waiting, not for ownership, but acknowledgement. I reckon it's time I stop running, Elias whispered. And the land, the tribe, and the past finally agreed. Morning came thin and pale, leaking over the canyon like a cautious secret. Elias Boone rode slow now, not in desperation, but in exhaustion, body aching, wrist raw, breath shallow as though each lungful scraped along memory itself. The stolen Palomino beneath him moved with weary trust, hooves soft in the sand where last night bullets had screamed. Elias did not know if the outlaws still trailed him. He suspected they did. The worst men rarely surrendered a chase, and Miles Rourke was not the kind who let anything he desired slip loose without blood. The canyon wound forward like a throat, narrowing before scream. He kept riding. His mind drifted like dust behind his horse, drifted toward the gold, toward 12 years of what-ifs, toward the tribe whose eyes never left him when he rode away long ago. Taz's stare had followed him like a judgment, like a promise. Elias had carried that look longer than he carried a saddle. And now here he was, older, slower, running toward the same land he once fled. Maybe fate was a circle. Maybe the land remembers everything. Around midday, the Palomino slowed near a dried riverbed. Elias slid down, nearly stumbled from fatigue, pressed his palms to his knees to keep from folding. He listened. A crow cawed. The wind scraped against rock. And then, faint but distinct, the soft creak of leather. A horse. 2, maybe 3. He turned, gun drawn, too slow. Arrows struck the ground beside him, thudding into sand like warnings. Elias froze. A whisper of movement rose behind a ridge, and then they appeared. Riders descending from the stone like ghosts of old consequences. Apache warriors, silent save for hooves and breath. For a moment Elias could only stare, breath caught like a wire around his throat. 12 years had passed, but they came as if time itself bowed to memory. The first rider dismounted, stepping forward with calm purpose. Hair long as raven's wings, streaked faintly with silver at the temples. His face lean, weather-cut, eyes steady as mountain shadows. Taza. He looked older, but not weaker, like age had sharpened, not dulled him. Elias swallowed, voice dry as the dirt beneath his boots. I remember you. Taza nodded once. That single motion held entire years inside it. And we remember you, Elias Boone. Other warriors held back. 3 men, 1 woman. Elijah recognized none. But their presence felt familiar, like echoes of those who once watched him kneel in the river clutching stolen gold. They regarded him with quiet uncertainty, but not immediate hostility. Elias holstered his gun slowly. I'm not here for the gold. I never came back for it. Taza's gaze flicked toward him, sharp, measuring. Why come now? Elias exhaled, a tired sound weighted by nights without sleep and choices long decayed. Men hunt me, greedy men, men with less conscience than I ever had. They know of the gold, and they will come here. I tried to stop them, failed. If they find this place, they'll tear the earth open until nothing sacred stands. Silence draped the canyon like a thin shroud. The warriors exchanged looks, but no one spoke. Elias felt judgment hover in the air, not spoken, but heavy. He deserved it. Finally, Taza stepped closer. You could have taken the gold then. You did not. You came back now, when it would be easier to run. His eyes narrowed. That means something. Elias lifted his gaze to meet the chief's. I don't expect forgiveness. Only a chance to make things right. One of the younger warriors, a broad-shouldered man, maybe 24, huffed a skeptical breath. Why help us now? You bring danger here. Elias did not flinch. Danger was coming with or without me. But I know those men. I've lived beside hunger that gnaws bone. They will not stop until they hold what is not theirs. Taza listened, unreadable as stone. The sun climbed behind his shoulders, framing him like judgment itself. At last, the chief raised one hand. The warriors relaxed, lowering bows slightly but not fully. Trust was not given. It would need to be earned. You ride with us, Taza said. If you speak truth, you fight beside us. If you lie, our arrows decide the rest. Elias nodded, a strange calm settling in his chest. I'll ride. They mounted together, hooves stirring sand like old ghosts rising to witness fate. Elias rode among them. Not as a friend, not yet, but as a man walking back into the past he once feared. The path curved deeper into Apache lands, where cottonwoods whispered and river stones remembered footsteps that never returned. Here, among wind-carved ridges, the tribe had made a haven. Lodges of hide and wood, smoke drifting from fires, children's laughter threading through the steady rhythm of work. As they entered camp, eyes turned toward Elias. Some wary, some curious. An elder woman paused while splitting corn, gazed steady on him. A young boy, maybe 8, peeked from behind her skirt with wide dark eyes. A dog lifted its head from beside a lodge, watched, then lowered it again with a slow blink. Here, life wasn't riches, it was roots. Deep, quiet, resilient. Taza dismounted, motioned for Elias to follow. We speak with counsel. We plan. Elias nodded, heart steadying with purpose. If danger was coming, he would face it with them, not against. Not anymore. Whatever happened next, Elias Boone knew this much. He would not run again. Hours stretched like rope pulled tight. The council gathered beneath the shade of leaning pines. They listened as Elias laid bare the truth. Miles Rourke's hunger, The outlaws' pursuit, the way greed could scorch land until nothing gentle survived. Some faces hardened, some softened, but all understood one thing. Threat was coming like whether you could smell before you saw. As dusk fell, the wind shifted. Horses neighed restless. The first scouts returned breathless, eyes wide. Riders, one gasped. Gunmen, three, maybe more. Taz's voice cut the air clean. Prepare. Elias rose, revolver already in hand. Not a bullet yet fired, but the night tasted like war. The attack came with the darkness, quick, brutal, inevitable. Gunfire cracked like bone splitting. Horses screamed. Sparks lit the night as bullets tore through wood. Hide! Flesh! Elias dug behind an overturned wagon, breath hot in his chest, revolver steady despite shaking hands. Shadows moved swift between lodges, war cries cutting through the chaos like knives. Men who once hunted him now hunted everyone. Miles Rourke's voice split the night. Come out, Boone. The gold's here, I know it. Elias peeked out long enough to fire 2 shots. Clayton Duke staggered back behind a boulder, cursing. Levi Hale crouched near a water barrel. Fear etched across his young face, even in moonlight. The boy didn't look evil, just swallowed whole by the wrong men. Warriors answered bullet with arrow. Feathers flashed, metal sang. Elias left cover, sprinted toward the center of the fight. A warrior fell near him, throat opening like a red flower in dust. Elias fired back, rage burning the fatigue from his bones. He fought not for gold, not for forgiveness. He fought because his land deserved better than men like Miles. Taza moved like smoke and blade through the fray, silent, lethal. His knife flashed beneath star-washed sky as he struck one outlaw down. Another fired at him, but hit stone instead. Elias turned and shot the man through the shoulder, dropping him screaming. Miles saw Elias then, eyes sharp with hatred and disbelief. You chose them, he shouted over battle thunder. You could have been rich. Elias answered with bullet, not at Miles, but at Levi Hale, who aimed a rifle at a fleeing child. The shot hit Levi's arm, sending the rifle spinning. The boy escaped. Miles snarled, furious that gold meant nothing to the man he once called partner. Elias ran toward him. The 2 men collided like fate itself demanded it. Fists, gunmetal, sweat, dust, years of choices brawled through their bodies. Miles drove a knee into Elias' ribs. Elias swung, landed a punch that cut Miles' lip open. They hit the ground hard. Miles reached for his revolver. Elias stomped his hand. Pain and fury exploded across Miles' face. You left money in the dirt for honor? Miles spat blood. You're a fool. Elias pinned him, breath fire in his throat. Some things weigh more than gold. Miles snarled, teeth bared. Then die with them. He wrestled free just enough to shove Elias back, scramble for his gun. Too late. An arrow slammed into Miles' chest through the heart. He froze, shock in pale green eyes. Taza stood behind him, bow still raised, moonlight cold in his gaze. Miles fell slowly, breath leaving like a secret finally spoken. His last look held confusion, maybe regret, maybe nothing. Silence rippled outward through gun smoke. The outlaws, leader fallen, scattered like frightened wolves. Elias did not chase. Neither did the tribe. Some debts settled themselves in the dark. Dawn came pale and trembling. Fires smoldered, smoke rising like prayers or ghosts. The wounded were tended. The dead were honored. Elias stood among them, blood on hands, ashen hair, breathing the kind of quiet that follows storms. Taz approached, arrow quiver empty, expression solemn but not cold. You fought with us, he said, when you could have fled as before. Elias met his gaze without shame. Running never saved me, only haunted me. Taza looked toward the ridge where sun climbed slow and gold. He spoke with voice like earth, steady deep. 12 years ago, you found what belonged to us. You left it untouched. Today, you protected what we keep sacred. He paused. A debt stands between us, not for gold, but for what was given and returned. Elias almost smiled, a tired, soft curve of mouth. I never asked for debt. Taza held out a leather bundle. Inside, gold nuggets, same as before, but now heavy not with greed but meaning. We repay freely, Taza said. Take a portion, not for wealth, but for journey, for new start. Elias felt heat in his eyes, unexpected and sharp. He closed the bundle gently. I will not waste this. Taza nodded. Then our stories no longer run apart. As sun lifted high, Elias saddled his horse, not fleeing, but leaving in peace. Children watched him go. Warriors stood unthreatened. The land felt different beneath his shadow, like forgiveness, like direction. He looked back only once. Taza raised a hand. Elias returned the gesture. He rode toward horizon. Not lighter, not richer, but whole in a way gold never offered. For some men, treasure is metal. For others, it is the weight they finally lay down. And if the story lingered like dust after hooves fade, maybe it was meant to. Maybe this was how the West remembers those who learn late, but return true